Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to crack the code on something that shapes our work lives more than pretty much anything else. And that's company culture.
So, you've probably heard this line before, right? It's from the legendary management guru Peter Drucker. It's a super catchy phrase, but what does it actually mean? Like in the real world, what happens when culture and strategy face off?
Well, it means that for most people, culture isn't just a side dish, it's the main course. Get this, a Glassdoor study from 2021 found that a whopping 56% of adults said that a company's culture is more important than their salary. Yeah, you heard that right. The vibe of the workplace matters more than the paycheck.
Okay, so if it's that big a deal, what exactly are we talking about here? Let's pull back the curtain and look at this unseen blueprint that pretty much dictates how everything gets done at work.
So, at its very core, organizational culture is really just the company's personality. Think about it that way. It's the shared vibe, the unwritten rules of the road that tell everyone how to act, what's important and what's not. It's what makes one company feel totally different from another. It's basically the way we do things around here. But here's the thing. This personality isn't some vague, fuzzy feeling. Nope. It's actually built from some really specific ingredients, kind of like a recipe. First, you've got your values. These are the absolute non-negotiable principles. Then, those values cook up the beliefs, so what the company is actually aiming for, its aspirations. And finally, all that comes together to create the norms, which are the day-to-day expected ways people behave. That's the culture in action.
All right, so how do all these ingredients, values, beliefs, norms, actually mix together out in the wild? Well, there's a really useful framework from researchers Quinn and Cameron that gives us a kind of map. They figured out you can basically sort cultures based on two things. Are they focused inward on their people or outward on the market? And do they prefer flexibility or do they need control?
First up, we've got the clan culture. This one's all about being internal and flexible. Just think of a big, supportive family. It's super collaborative, and the driving forces here are things like mentorship, teamwork, and making sure every employee feels involved. A classic example is a company like Tata Steel, which has this legendary, long-standing commitment to its people.
Now let's flip the script. You've got the adhocracy culture. This one is focused externally, but is still really flexible. This is your dynamic, entrepreneurial, creative chaos kind of place. Risk-taking and innovation, that's the whole game here. It's perfect for those trailblazers who are always thinking about what's next. A place like Amazon, with its constant drive to invent, is a perfect fit.
Then there's the market culture. Okay, so this one is also focused externally, but instead of flexibility, it's all about control. This is a competitive, results-driven battlefield. Everything, and I mean everything, is about winning. Hitting targets, growing market share, and crushing the competition. Think of a company like Apple. It's got that laser focus on performance and staying on top.
And last but not least, the hierarchy culture. So this one brings the focus back inside, but it's all about control and structure. This is your classic, traditional corporation. You've got clear chains of command, tons of formal rules, and everything runs on process and efficiency. It's stable, for sure, but that same structure can sometimes make it really hard to be creative or move quickly.
So there you have it, the 4 basic flavors of culture. But just having a culture isn't enough. What's the secret sauce that takes a culture from just okay to absolutely exceptional? Let's talk about what separates the good from the truly great.
First, and this might be the most important one, is alignment. Alignment is that sweet spot, that magical moment where what the company says it values is exactly what its people value too. When that happens, work stops being just a job for a paycheck. It becomes a shared mission, and your team isn't just doing what they're told. They're genuinely committed.
Great cultures are also incredibly resilient. Look, we all know change is inevitable, right? A resilient culture is one that can handle those bumps in the road, those big disruptions with grace and empathy. They don't just survive a crisis, they actually adapt, learn, and come out the other side even stronger. Trust stays intact even when things get tough.
And honestly, you can't have that kind of resilience without this next one, psychological safety. This is huge. It's the fundamental belief that you can speak up, you can share a crazy idea, you can ask a tough question, heck, you can even fail,
all without being punished or humiliated for it. When people feel safe like that, all that anxiety melts away, and a team's real creative potential is just unlocked.
So that brings up a big question. How do these cultures, whether they're amazing or, not so amazing, actually get built in the first place? Well, this leads us to a really, really powerful idea.
See, a company's culture really ends up being one of two things. It can be a culture by chance, which is basically what happens when you just let it grow on its own, like a weed. It just develops over time, and hey, it might be okay for a while, but there's no guarantee it's what you need for the long haul. The alternative? A culture by choice. This is where leaders are deliberate. They intentionally design the environment they want, choosing the traits that will help everyone succeed. It's about being the architect of your own workplace.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. When you look at your own workplace or any organization you're a part of, ask yourself this simple but powerful question. Is the culture here an accident, or is it a choice? Because that answer, well, it tells you just about everything you need to know.